Welcome to Beyond the Bubbles podcast, where we dive deep into news, tech, entertainment, and more beyond the surface. I'm Bill, and in each episode, we'll be exploring the latest stories, discoveries, and trends that make waves in the world above and below the water. So let's dive in. Thank you for joining. This is the inaugural episode, and I'm just going to talk a little bit off the cuff about the channel at first. This is a new feature that my buddy and I have been trying to get off the ground for 2 years now, but we work full time, and it's really hard for us to stop and spend the time to do kind of a podcast. So here at first, just to get it off the ground and get moving with it, we're going to do it faceless. It'll predominantly be me here at first, and I'm just going to do small snippets of news and things that are happening, just kind of like what I talked about in the intro. I'm really excited about this section because now you'll get to hear more of the stories and the things that excite divers and the community. One of the biggest today, and I'm going to jump right into this story, is the SS United States. This ocean liner from the 1950s is being towed right now as we speak to Mobile, Alabama. And then from there, she'll be sunk as the largest artificial reef in the Gulf of America, which is kind of cool because this will be the first wreck in the brand new Gulf of America. This is renamed from the Gulf of Mexico. So everything that we do from here on out is actually going to be fresh and exciting. How many people out there are going to log all your dives this year as number one dives in a brand new dive site because of the renaming? Just a weird little thought. So here's a quick little summary about the SS United States final journey as it's being called and being hailed. A little sad for some people, but us in the dive community, it's very, very exciting. The departure from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania began on February 19th, 2025. The SS United States is being towed from where it had been docked for many, many years. The conservation society that had formed and surrounded it, they couldn't manage the dock fees, and the upkeep on the ship, I'm sure, was incredible. This thing was commissioned in 52, and she was decommissioned in 1970. As you're seeing on the screen and everything, this is what she looks like right now. She's very stripped down to the bone. She had a lot of asbestos in her, so they had to do an abatement if they were going to turn it into a hotel or a museum or whatever. So today, she has made her turn into the Gulf of America on her final leg into Mobile, Alabama. She will undergo a secondary abatement. And what this is going to mean, if there's any leftover contaminants, oil, asbestos, loose paint, they've got to take off the windows and the doors, which is kind of sad because it's really kind of cool to see all these portholes and everything. She is just going to make an absolute gorgeous dive site. This process is going to take about a year. Judging from the USS Spiegel Grove and the USS Oriskany, which now is the title holder of the largest artificial reef in North American waters, this will soon transfer over to the SS United States. She is much, much bigger. She is an ocean liner, not a cruise liner. Granted, cruise liners are much, much bigger. Ocean liners were meant to deliver mail, cargo, and passengers to and fro. It wasn't meant for vacationers to stop and go to Cozumel or wherever in the world. She will be sunk approximately 20 nautical miles off the coast of Destin in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And like I said before, she will serve as the world's largest artificial reef. She will be enhancing marine habitats and attracting divers. That is what we're here talking about right now. A lot of people, I've been tracking this thing really, really heavy on my Facebook page and sharing it on other pages as well as, just personally. I'm a geek when it comes to ocean liners, especially old ones. I love the Titanic. I fell in love with it when I was a kid, especially when she was discovered in '85. I've got so many books on it, it's not even funny. And then when I became a diver, I learned about the Andrea Doria. So the SS United States was commissioned in '52, and the Andrea Doria ocean liner sank off of Nantucket in a fog with another ship, the Stockholm, in 1956. She went down, and she was hailed as the Mount Everest of dive sites for years because of her massive superstructure and just the china and everything else. There are some great books, and I will list them down below in the description. That way you can read them for yourself. They are still, most of them are still available. And I'll do a review. I'll post another video about those books and about the Andrea Doria. On another note, I actually got to see the Spiegel Grove in the Florida Keys not long after she went down. There was an issue. There were some mistakes made, and she, during her initial sinking, as you're seeing right now, she flipped upside down. They were doing some towing, maneuvering issues, and some weather and wind, as you can see in the photos, caused a premature sinking. So she rolled upside down, and she was there for quite a while. It actually took Mother Nature to kind of correct and make the ship look the way it was supposed to. The way I saw her after she went down and after she was pulled over onto her side, and that's the best anybody could do, at least man can do. I saw her on her side, and she was a fantastic wreck, and I've loved over the years seeing how this wreck is transformed. So when you see the SS United States, you're going to see her, kind of fresh if you're going to be there not long after she goes down. And if you spend time and you come back and dive this wreck, time and time again, year after year, you're going to see such a tremendous change with the life and the growth that happens on these vessels. It truly does become alive not very long afterward. I mean, fish are going to move in almost directly after the sinking, after everything calms down, because they see it as a home and something they can hide in and live. So that's pretty cool. The Oriskany, her sinking went very, very well, as you can see in the photos. And what I think is kind of amazing about this one is it's kind of almost too deep to scuba dive. You would have to be a technical diver to be able to get into her lower decks. The United States is going to be very, very close to the Oriskany. Hopefully a little shallower, but I'm guessing she will be in 180 foot of water. But you should be able to dive the promenade deck and into some of the upper structures, the bridge, and some of the other upper level areas. The main hull of the ship is they're probably going to seal off from most divers, because this thing is massive. The Andrea Doria, over the years, because of her state, she sank prematurely and was loaded with equipment, loaded with china. It had people on it, at the time of its sinking. So it was cram-packed full of stuff. So that was a big lure for divers. And technical diving was in its infancy back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So we didn't have the exotic gases back then. We didn't have rebreathers back then. Most everybody did it on air. And, at 240 foot on air, we all know that the bends can happen. You can have deep water blackout. You can have what's called the martini effect, where you get a little foggy in the brain. I'll cover that once again in another video. That's a great topic. But I'm hoping with this wreck she'll be higher, and plenty of divers go see the Oriskany. So I don't think this is going to be an issue. To my knowledge, as of right now, I don't think there's any fatalities that's ever been posted on the Oriskany. I hope it stays that way. Okaloosa County, the county that bought the wreck, and working in conjunction with the Preservation Society, I understand they've got some special things coming. I think there's going to be a small museum dedicated to this wreck and her history, because she did make some speed records. She was considered the flagship of the United States. That's nothing to be taken lightly. She just got too old, and she's just too big to take care of. So I think this is actually the best possible outcome for the wreck. There are a lot of people that they're very sad because they're thinking, well, we'll never see the ship again. This is true, but at least it's not going to be stripped down and scrapped and the metal reused somewhere else, which is not a bad thing. Lots of old warships happen to be scrapped and torn down. All the original ocean liners, one of the saddest ones that I thought really should have been saved, should have been the final sister of Titanic, the Olympic. They scrapped her in 1934. And I feel like they really should have held on to that ship because she was the first. Titanic was next, and then Britannic. Both of the sisters sank. And the Olympic had some damage over the years taken. She was a troop carrier in World War II and World War One. So she had a very lush and long life. So I was kind of sad when I learned about that, but there's nothing I can do because I wasn't even born yet when that thing went down. We'll get to see her in about a year as she goes down. Okaloosa County is saying that charters and personal watercraft will be able to witness the ship going down, but you cannot interfere with the wreck as she goes down from officials. I don't know how long it's going to be until it's going to be able to dive. I believe what it has to do is, from my remembrance of the Spiegel, when she went down, they had to survey it after the dust had settled, per se, underwater, and to make sure that the ship was stable. And then they gave it a little bit of time to make sure that, nothing bad was going to happen, and then they opened it up to diving. The Spiegel was at first only available to dive through authorized dive shops. I don't think that happened with the Oriskany, but it may do that. But literally, Okaloosa County is wanting to open this up to tourism. They're promoting this artificial reef. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition. It's going to bring divers world over to come see this thing. One of my greatest dreams was always to dive the promenade deck on the Andrea Doria. She also rested on her side because she got gashed on her starboard side, if I'm not mistaken, and that's where she rested. So the port side was wide open. So you could dive that promenade. Of course, she's at an angle, but some of the visualization through some of the books I read, it just always seemed to be right there that everybody talked about. And even some of the divers that I've spoken with that have actually been on that wreck prior to her collapse, and yes, that wreck over the years has flattened out and has collapsed. I believe the rough waters have a lot to do with it, but I also think that all the salvage hunters and everything, they've cut a lot of holes in it, and I think they caused some of the superstructure damage. I don't know. I'm just going to stay out of that one. That's just my thoughts. If I'm wrong, I apologize to any of those folks out there, but it's just my thoughts, personal opinion. So right now, the wreck has turned into the Gulf, and is heading towards Mobile. She initially, after she left Philadelphia, when she got to North Carolina, if you're looking at the photos here on the screen, it hit some rough weather, so it had to slow down and almost stop. I believe the boat got turned sideways a little bit due to the wind, and the tugboat number 6. That's incredible. This little bitty tug is towing that big old boat, and it's I believe it's only got a single man on it. The captain is a one-man show. He's a one-man band towing this thing. It's incredible how they tow it. Took three tugs to get it out of the river where she was at in Philadelphia and into the open Atlantic. And she hit open water, and it looks like the journey's been relatively well, other than that little spat of weather. By the time this ship hit West Palm, I don't believe anybody realized the impact that was going to happen. From the beach, there has been fantastic photos taken, because the boat got really, really close inland, so you could really see it really well. People come out, they took great photos. You're looking at them right now. One of my favorites that I absolutely think is just really, really cool and history making right there was you're looking at the SS United States, and forgive me, I don't have the name of the cruise ship, a current cruise liner, passing each other from the beach. People were taking photos of these two vessels meeting. This is like meeting your great grandfather. This current cruise liner meeting this old ocean liner, and on the flip side of that, from the bridge, the captain of that cruise liner, took photos as the United States was passing. And that is just absolutely amazing and fantastic. So when she hit West Palm, she started making a little bit of noise, a little bit of rattle. She followed down all through Miami. You can see all the photos here, beautiful photos. And the captain of the Venick number 6 tug, he has taken some absolutely great shots. And my hat goes off to him. And none of these photos are mine. These are all borrowed photos. And I do not want to take credit for anybody's work because this is just absolutely fantastic. So my hat is off to everybody that's taken all of these photos. She hit Miami and rolled down the Florida Keys. Still some awesome pictures being taken and photos. And there's been some videos taken where people got in their personal watercraft and kind of got near the boat. Of course, you can't really get close to the boat. That's dangerous, and you don't need to anyway. But they took some great videos, and just search Facebook, YouTube. You're going to see these videos and these close-up images of this great historic ship. Now that she has turned, a lot of people have asked me, said, hey, are we going to be able to see it in Clearwater? Are we going to be able to see it here and there? And I was like, no, I don't think so. I think it's going to turn, and it has. It's going to clear the Horn of Florida and the Florida Keys, and she's just going to cut straight up through the Gulf of America into Mobile. I'm sure that there will be more photos and more video taken when this historic ship enters those waters into that bay, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal that a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, this will probably never happen again. I don't know how many of these cruise ships are left. I believe the Queen Mary, or I can't remember which one's in California. But there's a few of these vessels left, but most of them are hotels or anything. So there may be a couple more chances, but I think in my lifetime especially, I don't think this is ever going to really happen again. So this is pretty historic. It was cool seeing the Spiegel. It is cool seeing the Oriskany, and I've seen a lot of other wrecks, that I never got to see sink, but, I got to see a lot of other bigger wrecks. But this one in particular, I think, is going to be just super special to a lot of people for what the ship represents and her future underwater. This is just going to be a phenomenal dive. I mean, you're never gonna be able to get to dive anything else like this in this kind of shallow water. All the other wrecks, ocean liners, whether it's the Lusitania, the Mauritania, the Britannic, they're all really, really deep. You know, they're in the technical range. Some of these wrecks are 300 and 400, 500 foot deep. So most of us are never going to be able to dive them. Only a select few are going to be able to see these wrecks. But this is going to be diveable to the general public. You know, but please, 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 you know, if you're just an open water diver, I'm going to highly suggest and recommend that you guys get advanced certifications, not just advanced diver, but deep air. Learn about deep air, how it works, because you're not going to be able to dive nitrox. I've already had someone say that. They got corrected pretty quick, not by me, but by somebody else. People think that, well, I can go nitrox and I'll have plenty of depth and time on the vessel, and that is just not the case. For technical divers, well, let me come back to what I was saying about the open water divers. You need to get your advance. You need to learn deep air and deep water procedures. And I'm going to highly suggest maybe you guys even take a technical course, an introduction to technical. That way you guys can learn some bailout procedures just in case. Just my thoughts. I have this kind of knowledge, but I've seen it time and time again in the Keys where people get themselves into trouble. They're excited. They forget their times. They forget that they do have a time limit, that they only have X amount of air at a certain depth, especially when you're on straight air. And if you're on an aluminum 3000, your time at 100 foot is just minutes, you know. So it's not like you're in shallow water where you got, 30, 40, 50 minutes, maybe 2 hours sometimes, depending on the depth. I know I've had dives like that in the Gulf, especially shark tooth hunting, to where you got all the bottom time in the world. You're going to run out of interval before you actually run out of air. So I would suggest getting some extra additional training, and stay within your limits. Definitely stay within your limits. I hope this has been a good and informative first episode. Once again, it's really short. I'll try to get more and more of these episodes out. I hope you've enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing your comments. If you would like, please like and subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with what we're up to. We have a lot of good video content coming. We have a 60-part series that we're filming right now, hopefully to get the first initial episode off the ground. That will be a learning series, an educational series, an A to Z to scuba diving, and it's really just going to be kind of a basic, start to finish, from the history of diving into the gear and the current concepts and the way we do business. Now, and tech tips on, after you get done with your open water class, if you're a brand new diver, if you need refresher, this will give you those little tips and a little bit of a reminder. We have another series that is a 52-week series. I hope everybody really enjoys it. They're going to be fun, quick little episodes, but there's a lot of meaning behind them. But I'm meaning them to be fun, but be informative as well. So I hope you guys really do enjoy these. And we're going to have regular episodes, the long, boring ones that I typically post. My buddy Keith, he's going to be doing more of the technical line as far as like gear and everything. So he's a tinker. He's a whiz at what he does, and my hat goes off to him, and I thank him for being a part of the channel. Anyway, I sure do appreciate everyone, and we will see you on the next dive.